A lot of people think that an ending or a closing could be a bad thing, and I guess in some ways it could, but not when it comes to bookkeeping and accounting. In bookkeeping and accounting, when it's time to close the books, that's actually a good thing. It means you've reached the end of a period. It means that you've worked through all of those processes, accounted for everything, got everything balanced out, and you now can say, at this point in time, everything was solid and I know what was going on in my business. In this chapter, we'll take a look at some of the processes that you need to go through to properly close the books. Well, now is an exciting time. No, really, trust me, it is an exciting time. Because whether you're at the end of a month, the end of a quarter, or the end of a fiscal year, you've been able to do a lot of wonderful things using QuickBooks in your toolbox. What we now need to do is kind of make sure we finish it up. We don't want to leave things half done. And some people just aren't familiar with what that entails. It's technically called closing the books. Actually, I shouldn't say technically because I don't think that's a technical word, but it's a word that people use all the time. So in accounting, nothing basically is closed or finished or final until the books are closed. And that's what we're going to talk about here. It's really just the process of making sure everything is done. All of the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, all of those wonderful things. That includes making sure that all accounts are fully processed and balanced, that you haven't lost anything and that you know exactly where things are. Once closed, no changes should be made to those transactions. Generally, this is done, as I said, at the end of a fiscal year, or it could be done quarterly or even monthly. Depends on the size of the company and even the type of the company. Some of the things that are involved in that are processing all payments and receipts. If you have bills to pay, make sure they're paid and the checks are sent out. If you've received money, go ahead and make sure that that's processed as well. Then you're going to reconcile all of your accounts. We learned a few chapters back how to reconcile using the credit card account. You're going to do the same thing with your bank accounts, except of course you'll be using your bank statements, and there may or may not be more transactions in it. You're going to enter end-of-year depreciation, which you may need some help with. That's where an accountant could come in. You're also going to prepare necessary forms. Depending on your company, those could just be for internal uses, but they also include employment forms and tax forms. Then you'll close the period. That's it. You're done. You're not going to go back to those transactions anymore. You'll be ready to look ahead, but you want to make sure that you back up the file and possibly use something called the QuickBooks Cleanup. With just a few more things, you'll be ready to go, mark it off your list, and say that you had a fabulous end of year and a closing of the books.